Experts are predicting year one for Darren DeVries and Indiana basketball to not go so well.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. We've got big news in terms of Indiana's mascot. That's right, Hoosier the Bison is back. We'll talk about more on that in just a little bit, plus the latest bracketology for the Big Ten as a whole, because experts are predicting that Indiana basketball in year one under Darren DeVries is not going to be all that good. They're predicting this team to miss the tournament altogether. And Joe Lunardi released his latest bracketology. He's doing it about once a month right now throughout the summer. And he did this a couple of days ago. I believe May 20th was the day that he did this. So it's about a week or so removed, but he's only doing it once a month. And he predicts Indiana to be a first four out. He has them on the bubble. He has them missing the tournament. And so do other bracketologies and basketball experts out there as well. We talked about the other day about John Rothstein from CBS Sports, who has Indiana right now outside of his top 45 in the preseason. And today's message is not going to be so much about why they don't believe in Indiana. I'll get into that a little bit, but we've had that conversation. Today's going to be more about what are your expectations? What do the Indiana fans want out of this season? And so you look at this bracketology here a little bit for Indiana in particular. We'll talk more about the Big Ten as a whole and how that conference and how our conference can try to be the best conference in college basketball in 2025 and 2026. But you look at this bubble, right? Maryland's up there as a last four bye. You've got Nebraska is right ahead of us. Then there's Indiana. And then there's Washington. So three Big Ten teams are the first four out. The team ahead of us is Texas A&M, which is Mackenzie Mbako's new ride, which, in case you missed it, he withdrew from the NBA draft and actually ended up going to Texas A&M, which kind of interesting. But hey, best of luck to him, and we are going to be cheering him on. But you have three Big Ten teams right there as the last four, or the first four out, and Indiana is one of those teams. And I will again question why they don't believe in the Hoosiers. Do they not believe in first-year head coach Darren DeVries? I could see why that's the case. I think they're wrong, but I could see why, right? He coached at Drake for a long time and won a bunch of games. Then he won some games at West Virginia with a depleted team and should have taken them to the NCAA tournament if he didn't get hosed by a selection committee that has no repercussions, right? So then he comes into Indiana, where he's already had to completely rebuild a new roster with one of the best shooting teams I think you're going to see in the Big Ten in 2025 and 2026, with guys like Lamar Wilkerson, Tucker DeVries, and others who are 45, 40, 35% three-point shooters throughout their career. I think Indiana's going to be one of the best shooting teams in the Big Ten. I think they'll be one of the highest scoring teams in the country in Power 5 basketball. I know there's some of those smaller schools that get after it, but I think Indiana is going to be up and down the floor constantly. Defensively, honestly, I don't know. I think we're going to have good size 1 through 4, right? I know there's a ton of concern with the Indiana fan base about, well, who's going to play center? I think Reed Bailey's probably going to have that spot. I just think that's where he's going to be. I think him and Sam Alexis are probably going to hold that down. Reed Bailey's 6'10", Sam Alexis is 6'8". I mean, you've got dudes who you can rotate through there. And so you may be a little undersized at the big spots, but you're a really good sized team 1 through 3 and really 1 through 4, in my opinion. And so are they questioning Darren DeVries? Are they questioning his staff? Are they questioning the talent? I don't know. I think everybody's got a different opinion here. But again, the message today is not necessarily about that. It's, what do the fans expect? What do you want from year one from Darren DeVries at Indiana? Are you okay if this team misses the tournament? Are you okay if the experts are right about this team and say, yeah, well, year one, he had to just throw it all together and it was put together with band-aids and duct tape and old glue that they found in a drawer. It just didn't work. But you know what? It's okay because now he's going to have his full next season to build whatever team that he wants, talking 26 and 27. Are you okay with that? I'm not. I'm not okay with that because I think Darren DeVries is a better coach than that. I think that this team is more talented than that. I think his staff is incredible, which Indiana made most of that final yesterday. More on that to come later on. But I think this program deserves better than that. You deserve better than that. And I just don't see it happening, us missing the NCAA tournament. And so I pulled up our schedule, which of course we don't fully know yet, but we know a couple of our non-conference games like Marquette and Kentucky, which are really important, and our Big Ten games that could mostly impact or have the biggest impact on this idea of making or missing the NCAA tournament. Remember, you're going to play these teams at home only one time. You're going to play them one time this year, and it's going to be at Assembly Hall. Iowa, Northwestern, Nebraska, Oregon, Penn State, Washington, and Wisconsin. So already right there, I say Washington is a big game because they are currently a first four out with you, according to Joe Lunardi. And guess what? So's Nebraska. So two teams that you get to play only one time this year, and they're both at home, according to Joe Lunardi right now at the end of May, are a first four out just like you are. So those two immediately jump out to me. These are the teams you're going to play on the road, and you're only going to play them one time, and it's going to be at their place. Illinois, Maryland, Michigan, Ohio State, Rutgers, UCLA, and USC. You make your first trip to LA since the 60s, okay? You're going to have a lot of fun playing UCLA and USC. Michigan's going to be really good. Illinois is going to be really good. UCLA is going to be really, really good. And then the three games you're going to play twice, once at their place, once at our place, Michigan State, Minnesota, and Purdue. So your home games, I look at Michigan State, Purdue, I look at Washington, I look at Nebraska. Those four are uberly important. Your road games, Illinois, Michigan, and UCLA. Those are the teams that are supposed to be the best. Those are the ones that are supposed to be good. So I look at those as over importance, or with overly important. Say that. Indiana has to find a way not to win them all, because that's not going to happen, but you're going to have to get some of those. And then you start to ask the question, how important is it to you to make the NCAA tournament in year one? Because the experts don't think it's going to happen. The professionals, I put that in quotes, say, ain't no way that Indiana makes the NCAA tournament in year one under Darren DeVries. But I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll continue to do so. With this renewed rivalry of Indiana and Kentucky, it's really easy to compare. Mark Pope showed it can happen at a big program. He showed that in year one, with a put together roster, with a scrambled up roster, it can happen. That roster was good, and that team made it to the Sweet 16. I don't think anybody's asking for that in Bloomington in year one. But I think what we're asking is to be relevant, win a couple of big games, make Assembly Hall great again, and make it to the NCAA tournament. They don't believe you can do it, but I think we can. And I'm curious on what the standard is for most Indiana fans right now in terms of your expectations for year one under head coach Darren DeVries. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll take a look at bracketology as a whole, where the Big Ten stands, how many teams are getting in, and how Indiana could help the conference be the best in the country. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and how about those Pacers? Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Did you predict Halliburton to almost have a triple-double in the first half last night? I didn't, but if you did, you could have won some serious bucks on FanDuel. Or maybe you jumped on Jalen Brunson to get over what he have, like 31, 32 points, something like that. Maybe you thought he was going to have a bounce back game because he needed it. And how awesome is that series? Man, you got the Western Conference Finals tonight. So make sure you jump on FanDuel if you think Anthony Edwards or, any of those guys. I mean, Shea is always fun to bet on. And how many free throws is he going to make, right? You can do all of that on FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com right now and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, they're going to give you $200 in bonus bets, all right? Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Remember, we're talking Hoosier the Bison coming up in just a little bit as Indiana has officially announced a return of a mascot. More on that coming up in just a little bit, but want to take a look at this latest bracketology as a whole from Joe Lunardi about the Big Ten, because I think there's an opportunity for the conference of the Big Ten in basketball to become the best conference in the country again. Last year, there was no argument. Last year, it was the SEC. They broke a record for getting teams in the NCAA tournament. Adding Texas and Oklahoma definitely helped them with that, but they were a good conference. The teams at the top were really, really good. Teams like Florida and Auburn that made it to the Final Four, and Florida winning the national championship. Teams that made runs to the Elite Eight and the Sweet 16, like Tennessee and Alabama and those types of squads, and just the ones that made the tournament in general. The SEC was the best it's ever been last year, but the Big Ten was right there with them in a year that most people would consider was kind of down, I guess, for the Big Ten. Yeah, some of the teams at the top were good, Michigan State and Michigan, right? But you had teams like Indiana and Ohio State that flopped. You had teams in there like Purdue, who, yes, were good, but some underperformed and didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so you look at the conference right now as a whole going in to 2025 and 2026, and I think a lot of projections are saying it's supposed to be a better conference this year. Joe Lunardi, as of right now, again, late May, there's a ton of things to change, so don't live and die by this, but he's got the SEC with 13 teams in the Big Ten with 11 teams in. But if you remember from just a few minutes ago, 3 teams are currently out of the NCAA tournament, and the first 4 out from the Big Ten: Nebraska, Indiana, and Washington. So if those 3 teams make it and don't bump anybody else out in the way, that's from the Big Ten, you could have 14. You could set records of getting teams into the NCAA tournament. And this is where Indiana falls into this conversation. This is where the Hoosiers can help benefit the Big Ten as a whole. And I understand in today's era, today's world, conference pride is not as big as it used to be, right? There's not as many people out there bumping their chest and shouting from the rooftops how great the Big Ten is or how awesome the SEC. Well, no, they do. Or folks in the Big 12, which, depending on what you watch and listen to, they do as well. But it's not as big and a huge deal as it used to be, I feel like. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just, closed off to it. I don't know. I just feel like when I was growing up, you took pride in the conference you played in. You cheered for other teams from the Big Ten in their bowl game. You cheered for other teams in the Big Ten in the NCAA basketball tournament. You wanted them to go far until they played you, right? I just feel like that was a thing. But I want the Big Ten to be the best conference in the country in basketball and in football for that matter, because it helps Indiana. It helps the Hoosiers. If your conference is good, you get credit for winning conference games. Your resume looks better. You get a higher seed, and that's a thing in the playoffs now too. And you ultimately get the better draw to go and win a national championship. That's how it benefits Indiana. So you should want that too as an IU fan, to see the conference succeed as a whole. And if this were to come true, if the Big Ten were to get 11 teams into the NCAA tournament, I don't think the conference would complain. Double-digit teams is really impressive. And I know we have 18 as a whole, but 11 is really impressive. And 3 of those could work their way in just like that, being Nebraska, Indiana, and Washington. So the Hoosiers could benefit the Big Ten. They could help. And let's just be real. College basketball is better when Indiana is good. College basketball is better when the Big Ten is good. And some of the teams that they're predicting to be good from the Big Ten, Purdue is expected to be, unfortunately, one of the best teams in the country. They are considered a 1 seed in this bracketology. Michigan is a 2 seed. Man, they're going to be so good. Michigan's going to be legit. Dusty May, he's that dude. I saw somebody say the other day, they said, we can't keep letting Dusty May get away with this. And yeah, because they just keep getting kids, man. Oh, what was his name? I forget. He was supposed to go to the draft, and now he's going to Michigan. He had committed to Michigan out of the portal, and was supposed to be a high draft pick, and he said, nah, I'll go play in Ann Arbor. It's like, oh, God, okay. You also look around. Oregon's a 9 seed. USC's a 5 seed. Ohio State's a 4 seed, so they're expecting a big bounce back from the Buckeyes this year. I don't know. I got to do more research on them. I bought into them last year and got burned on that. So I did call Michigan, but I got burned on Ohio State a year ago. So more to come on the Buckeyes. UCLA is supposed to be good. They're in there as a 4 seed from the Big Ten. There's Marquette, just for anybody curious. Indiana plays them in the non-con. Marquette is a 10 seed. Kentucky is a 2 seed. So there's your 2 non-conference games. You talk about wanting to make the postseason. You have a chance to do so with 2 tournament teams on your current schedule. Wisconsin is a 6. Michigan State at 4. Iowa is an 8. Looking here quickly, Maryland is a 10. You have Illinois as a 5. And then again, Purdue as a 1. And so looking at that and kind of reading that off to you, the Big Ten's kind of all over the place, but in a good way. You've got 1 seed, you've got 2 seeds, you have 4 seeds and 5 seeds, you have 8 seeds and 9 seeds. I mean, you kind of have a pretty good representation throughout the latest bracketology. All Indiana's got to do is win some games. And I don't think there's anybody other than Maryland right now. They're the only team that you could really knock out of the tournament. If this were to be today, right, they would be the only one that you could knock out in front of you. I guess Nebraska technically, but I go back to Indiana's schedule, man. You have a chance to play. You do have to play Maryland on the road, but I don't expect them to be all that great. And then you play Nebraska and Washington at home. Very important games for the Hoosiers to win if you talk about making the NCAA tournament. And just for fun here, I'll show you and tell you what not just the experts, but the betting people think about Indiana this year in 2025 and 2026 in year 1 under Darren DeVries. Our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, proud FanDuel sponsor here. Check them out, FanDuel.com. They have their national title odds up for college basketball. Indiana is currently tied with 5 other teams with the 25th best odds in college basketball to win the national title. 25, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It's at plus 6,000 for those of you into that thing. They have the 25th best odds. They're tied with, get this, Wisconsin and Iowa, 2 more Big Ten teams. The conference is going to be good. The conference is going to be legit. But bettors are sprinkling a little cash, a little dollars on Indiana just in case something crazy goes on. I'm telling you, Indiana's going to be better than people think. But I think the Big Ten's got to be really, really good too. Wisconsin and Iowa are in front of you. That's 2. Michigan State is 3. Let's see. Illinois is 4. UCLA is 5. Michigan is 6. And then Purdue is 7. So there are 7 Big Ten teams in front of you for the national title odds, according to FanDuel. I don't think that's terrible for your first-year head coach. I don't think that's terrible odds if you are into that sort of thing. Again, check them out, FanDuel.com. But I'm just telling you, Indiana's going to be better, and the conference has a chance to be better too. And it's better for Indiana for the Big Ten to be good, because then if you win some of those games, you're going to get good credit for it. Your resume is going to look really good, and you have a better chance to make it to the NCAA tournament. So I'm not going to try and make a prediction right now in terms of how many teams make it from the Big Ten. I think double digits should be the goal. I do. I'll say that. I think double digits for the conference should be the goal, especially if UCLA and USC are supposed to be good. If Washington's trying to flirt with getting in there, Indiana trying to flirting with getting in there too, and you're going to have your workhorses of Purdue and Michigan and folks like that. Yeah, double digit bids, double digit teams should be the goal for the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament in 2025 and 2026. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, he's back. Hoosier the Bison. That's right. He is back. The mascot for Indiana will be on the sidelines in the building starting this fall. We'll talk about that in our final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. My everydayers, you're the reason that we do this, all right? I know it's off season. I know it seems like there's not as much to talk about, but I promise you that there is. Between stuff like bracketologies and recruiting, you got a massive recruiting weekend coming up for football, and then June's going to be a busy month for basketball recruiting as well. This is where you want to be. Locked On Hoosiers, all right? So if you're listening on audio, follow us over there. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a new episode, and send it to one new person, somebody that's not listening every day. Just send them the link, copy it, and send it to them, whether you're on Spotify or Amazon or Pandora, however you're listening. Send them the link and ask them to take a listen and become an everyday. All right. So thank you so much for doing that. And then for my my YouTube watchers, my everydayers over there, you know the drill. Hit that thumbs up and like the video. Comment your thoughts down below. Will Indiana make or miss the NCAA tournament? Should they make or miss the NCAA tournament? Plus, can the Big Ten get back to relevancy? And I got to get your thoughts on Mr. Hoosier the Bison. All right, so drop those in the YouTube comments. And if you have not already, subscribe to our channel. All right, all of that helps us out tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. And yes, it is official. Hoosier the Bison, he is back in a very dramatic, entertaining way. We've seen the social media videos coming out over the last couple of weeks from Indiana athletics on X and Instagram and things like that. And we knew it was coming, right? We knew something like this was coming. They've been previewing it for a little bit. And the fact that an announcement was on the way, and we were all but confirmed that it was going to be the Bison mascot was returning. And here it is. Hoosier the Bison is back. The official video was put out yesterday morning. You can check it out. Just look up Indiana Athletics on social media. It's all over the place. And I think they did a really good job with it. I do. I think it was a very entertaining, very fun, very, cute video that everybody enjoyed. And everybody got involved. Kurt Signetti, Darren DeVries. I mean, you had coaches in there. You had alumni in there. You had all sorts of people in this video. And then ultimately, Hoosier the Bison is the announcement. Now, we have not seen a full top to bottom 360 view of him yet, but he's going to be wearing an Indiana t-shirt. He's got the candy striped pants, and he has the Bison head, right? He's the Bison physical mascot. And if you've read into this a little bit, I'm not going to go super in detail on the history, but it's been like 50 something years since Indiana's had one. And the history of the mascot at Indiana, it's not all that good. It's kind of murky. It's kind of muddy. So you can read into it, but basically this got started by student government at IU, and they got this process started back in December. They said, hey, we want to bring it back. And I can't imagine what all had to go into this to make this possible, but here we are. The Bison is back, and he's going to be debuting this fall is what they said. So you would think that's going to be with football season. You've got 3 home games to start. Actually, you have 4 home games to start for 2025. And so you will expect to see him around at some point there. I know there may be some people that say, it's just a mascot, whatever. And that's fine. If you don't care about it, then don't care about it. It doesn't change your life one way or the other. But I think it's a good idea. I think it encourages fan engagement, kid engagement as well. And it's just something else for entertainment at sporting events like football, basketball, and beyond. And so I think it can raise your social media awareness, possibly, raise some extra dollars, some extra funds, whatever it can do. It's just something nice to have. And shout out to the students for getting that done. The Bison is picked for it was the Bison before, and it's because Bison used to run through Bloomington. They ran through Indiana all back through the day. The Buffalo Trace, right? It kind of makes sense. And so he's going to be Hoosier the Bison again. He'll be back this fall, and hopefully this one sticks around a little bit longer than some of the others in the past. And so I'm excited for it. It was news. I know it's not just heartbreaking, just crazy headline news across the country, but it's something cool for us to enjoy. And I think it's something that every team needs. And I told you the other day when we started seeing some of the videos, it's like, honestly, haven't really thought a whole lot about it because my whole life there hasn't been one. And I knew there was a history back in the day, but it's just something Indiana didn't have. I wasn't worried about it. And you see so many cool mascots out there, the Texas Longhorn or I think Puddles is the Oregon Duck, is that right? And the TCU Horned Frog and stuff like that. But and the Hurricane, I think they have one too. But yeah, it's just something I just like, Indiana doesn't have one. It is what it is. But now that we do, very excited for it. Very cool. So wanted to mention something about that since it all became almost official yesterday with Hoosier the Bison returning. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Man, what a fun episode this was, and excited to continue bringing you content throughout the summer as well. And again, I cannot thank you enough for being here. If you're on audio, watching on YouTube, however you get us, I really appreciate your support and doing all of those things for us to help us continue to grow here in the month of May, okay? We are back tomorrow for another episode. So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.